Welcome back, friends. It's Melissa Esplin here, and in this video we are going to talk about the brushes, how to use them, and how to use them in concert with the interactive workbook. Let's take a dive. Here we have the interactive workbook and my marker layout paper. I've labeled it because it's just so hard to see on my white desk. And then I, for the sake of this video, am going to use the watercolor brush pen. For other videos and for your practice, I highly recommend using the extra small, or medium calligraphy brushes for your practice. But for the sake of this video and how to hold the pen, it's just so much easier for you to see what's going on when I use the larger brush. That being said, after you're done using this interactive workbook for your practice, you can use these watercolor brush pens for calligraphy work. It's just that flexible. They're really, really great. Let's dive into it. We've got our workbook. Here we have some definitions on calligraphy, how to hold the pen, and then we have our basic strokes set up. And all you'll really want to do is get that marker layout paper, lay it over top, and then you'll start off with your medium brush pen and you'll trace over these strokes. So let's talk about how to hold the pen. So I'm going to demonstrate both lefty and righty because I feel like it's important to have this equal representation. We have our watercolor brush pen. I'm going to open it up, put the cap on the end, and I'm going to hold this pen in between my index finger and my, and the same is for my left hand. I'm holding it in between my index finger and my thumb, keeping the barrel really planted in the middle. My middle finger is going to tuck underneath and create a support for the bottom side of the barrel of the pen. And this is really how you want to hold the pen. The pen is going to rest on this knuckle right here. It's not going to go deep inside the joint right there because that's going to promote a bad grip. We want to have it right up here. We want to have a nice relaxed grip and we want to have a relaxed touch. For classic pointed pen work, a lot of times you have your wrist rotated down towards the paper and you're writing like this. But for the sake of brush lettering, our wrists are open towards our non-dominant shoulder. My right wrist is pointed to my left shoulder. My left wrist is pointed to my right shoulder. So we want to have that open. And then you want your pointer finger to be just at that where the lid meets the marker. That's where we want to hold the marker. We have our paper upright for both lefties and righties, and we want to apply pressure on the side of the brush and apply pressure and bring that stroke down. So let's do that one more time. I'm using the side of the brush. I'm not pointing on the cone. I'm not actually putting any pressure on the tip of this marker. If I do, it's going to destroy the fine point very quickly. And it doesn't matter what type of marker you use, that kind of technique is going to dull your marker almost instantly. So we use the side of the marker to create that nice, bold downstroke. And you can work your way through an entire sheet of paper just doing these downstrokes. We don't need to necessarily use guides in order to practice these downstrokes, practicing that pressurized downward pull. The next thing we want to do is actually use a light touch. It's really important to not only be able to have a firm downstroke, but have a very light upstroke. So I'm going to just create a nice upstroke. And I'm just using the very tip of my brush and I'm using very little pressure and I'm creating those light upstrokes. Now we're combining each of these downstrokes and upstrokes in the form of an oval to create our basic strokes. That's really all there is to it. You follow these basic strokes and you will have the entire alphabet in no time. So let's take a look at that alphabet and what that looks like in this interactive workbook. We have our basic strokes here, which you can copy on a copier, or you can put the marker layout paper directly on top and you can use that as your practice. Then we have our essential script. This is a modified script that's based off of copperplate or engrosser's script. I've modified it so that it has an upright angle, it has very even proportions, and it's just really very beginner friendly, but it still uses those traditional foundations in order to create those letters themselves. And here below you can see a breakdown of each of the strokes and how I'm using those basic strokes to form a full sentence. That's everything in a glance. But here, if you want to break it down even further, we have arrows that show you exactly your letter strokes, exactly how to break down, say, the letter N. Trace directly over top with your marker layout paper. And once you feel confident in those lowercase letters, we move on to really these great drills that help you build letters and words. From here, we have basic sentiments. These are words that you're going to write quite a lot. And then we have different styles for you to explore. The styles really take what we learned in this essential script and push it with different techniques. So our basic strokes are going to be quite similar. Our angle, our ratios are going to be very similar, but we're just building up a slightly different style. Now, this is more of a classical brush engrosser script with the classical proportions and structure of each one of those letters that you can practice with just a brush pen. In following videos, we will work through these tracing pages and the projects that accompany them. So if you're practicing, I'd love to see your work. You can find me again on social media. I'm at MelissaFur and at CalligraphyORG. So thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next video where we talk about the beginner project.